Hey guys, it's Will from Tested. For today's show and tell, I have this guy right here. If you've been watching the site for a while, it's familiar to you. This is the Sansaire Immersion Circulator. It's for cooking food sous vide. Now, I don't have any food in the tub right now. We have a really long, in-depth video about cooking with immersion circulators and sous vide on the site that we did at the end of last year. There's probably a thing up here that you can click to go to that. But the short version is that you use this to maintain a very specific temperature. You put food in a bag, whether it's a vacuum bag or a Ziploc bag or something like that, or just drop eggs in their natural form. And then rather than heating something using a temperature that's higher than your intended target temperature, and then to kind of getting the timing right so that you don't overshoot or undershoot and end up with overcooked or undercooked food, the Sansaire and other immersion circulators hold the water bath at exactly the temperature that you want, and then you just wait for the food to get to that temperature and then pull it out after it's been cooked long enough to be safe. I've been testing this for about the last month and a half or 2 months, actually a little bit longer than that now, and I quite like it. The previous immersion circulators we've tested, our favorite was the Innova. This one I think is better in some ways, worse in others, but overall I prefer the Sansaire to the other circulators we've tested. There's a couple of things that are important about it. First off, the controls are really simple. There's power button, target temperature button, which lets you see the target temperature you're aiming for, and you can switch back and forth between Fahrenheit and Celsius on the top. To adjust the temperature, you just twist this gray knob on the top. And that gives you a very quick way to set the temperatures you want. It seems to heat up about the same speed as the other circulators we've tested. It's an 1100 watt rating, which is basically what you can get from the wall in a 110, 15 amp circuit, which is what's common in kitchens in the United States. And it seems to take, it depends on the size of the container, anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. For 10 minutes for a small container like this to heat up to 125 or 130 Fahrenheit. Much longer, obviously, for, say, a 5-gallon cooler that you're going to cook a half a pig in. I've used this to cook everything from short ribs over a long period of time, 36 hours or more, to an egg, which takes 45 minutes to get a perfectly poached egg inside the shell at 63.8 degrees Celsius. The ability to hold temperature is great. You can calibrate it for your individual containers. So the amount of energy that any immersion circulator uses is going to vary pretty wildly based on the insulation, the amount of insulation on the container, and the amount of water that you're heating. This is a half-gallon Chembro. It's essentially uninsulated. There's nothing keeping heat in on the top. And this is worst case from an insulation standpoint, but the size is relatively small. This was comparable to the Innova in power use when I tested it. Obviously, the bigger the container and the less insulation, the more energy you're going to use. The more insulated, the better is the long version. One of the things I like about the Sansaire, I'm going to go ahead and unplug it now so I can show you some stuff about the actual device, is this clip. While it's not quite as sturdy as some of the other devices we've tested, the Innova in particular has a screw-on mount in the back, so it's essentially mounted firmly to whatever container you have it on. The neat thing about the clip is you can actually pull it off, if I can do it, and then put it back on further out for wider lipped containers. And the clip, while it's a little bit flimsy, is kind of unnecessary because the base of the Sansaire is flat. So it just rests on the bottom of your container. I mean, while you could suspend it on the side, which is what happened with my big cooler, it's not necessary. It's made of plastic, which is feels a little bit less sturdy than some of the other stuff I've used, but it's relatively easy to get in here and clean out both the heating coil and the immersion circulator portion. And I love that it has all these big holes in the bottom because it makes it drain a lot faster than some of the other stuff we've tested. I haven't actually broken an egg in here yet. Sometimes when you're cooking eggs, you'll have a shell that cracks and you'll get bits of egg loose. This is going to be something you want to clean out immediately when that happens. Because you can take the back off, that makes it relatively easy to get into. Getting this back cover back on, which you need to have in order to run it, is a little bit tricky. It's a little awkward. It's toolless, which is nice. And then you just lock it in place with this switch and it kind of holds on. I see I missed there. So it's not the best design. It's really my only complaint with the Sansaire. So that's it. That's pretty much everything there is to it. It's $200. You can order it now as a Kickstarter. We got ours as part of the Kickstarter rewards. They're selling them at Sur La Table now. Insert South Park joke. It's $200. I highly recommend it. if you're going to buy an immersion circulator, you need some stuff to support it. So you need a container. Because of the way this clip works, you can hang it on the side of like a big stock pot or something like that. You'll also need a way to seal food in bags. You can use a Ziploc and just dunk it in, use the displacement method. They have a good video explaining how to do that on the Sansaire website. Or alternately, if you have a vacuum sealer like a Food Saver or something like that, they're 20 or 30 bucks and do a great job at sealing stuff in, which is what you're gonna want if you're gonna be cooking it for long periods of time. Something like short ribs or something with a lot of connective tissue. So that's it. That's the Sansaire Immersion Circulator. I think it's really good. 200 bucks. We'll be back with another show and tell next week. Until then, I will. See you guys later.